Hi, shalom friends. One of the more charming recollections I have of my daughter when she was 3 years old was her attachment and concern for her dolls. And for a long time, she was taking care of her baby, feeding the baby. We used to have like a baby stroller. She would take the baby for a walk. Very charming, actually, and quite adorable. What happens, though, if a 10-year-old girl doesn't want to go out and play with her friends because she's very busy with her dolls? She has to play with them, and after all, they need her company. We might tolerate it, and we might think it a little bit odd. We might encourage her to go out and play with real people. But without a doubt, if a person is 30 years old and her friend calls her up and says, "Come on, Catherine, let's go out for dinner," she says, "No, I have to put my baby dolls to sleep. They need me." That's positively scary. Why? Why is it good for a 3-year-old, but for a 10-year-old or a 30-year-old, not? Because as adults, we realize that as assuming human emotions to a piece of plastic or cloth is just not right. It's not true. Plastic does not feel, and plastic does not respond to feelings. So even though I know there was something called petting rocks, I think in the 1970s, for a person to have a best friend, a rock would be, again, very odd and perhaps necessitating some type of mental therapy, some intervention. Let's jump for a second. You know, Disney, it's a remarkable empire, and it's built about, at least initially, it started with a rodent, a mouse. And they elevated a mouse into a whole mystique, Mickey Mouse. And hundreds of millions of people all over the world follow and were excited about Mickey Mouse. You go to Disneyland, Mickey Mouse is all over the place. And in their very charming movies, very creative, imaginative, we have the world of animals, dogs and cats, having human feelings. And then it expanded that we have a movie called Cars. Cars have feelings. Toys, there's romance in toys. And it's all fun. It's all imaginative. It's all even occasionally educational. But it's also very confusing and maybe even a little bit harmful. Is it true that toys feel? Is it true that cars feel? Is it true that there's competition between airplanes? We're talking about pieces of metal. We're talking about pieces of wood. Do we really think that pieces of wood have feelings? Okay, let's go to another thing. A couple comes to a marriage therapist, and she begins, "You know, he doesn't love me anymore." And the therapist says, "And?" He said, "Well, I'll tell you, he loves his job more than he loves me." And the guy says, "I don't understand what you're saying. I love you, and I didn't marry my job. I married you." And she says, "Yeah, but you spend so much time at the job." And his response is, "I wait sometimes 45 minutes to see a doctor for 5 minutes. I'm not happy waiting 45 minutes. I just have to be there to see the doctor." And this goes on and on. What is she really saying? What she's really saying is that he's spending a lot of time at the job and not spending enough time with me. He's paying more attention to his profession than he is to his family. So why not say that? Instead of saying he's in love with his job, why not just simply say, "I feel neglected. I'm not getting the time." Or instead of saying that he's married to his job, he's not married to his job, he's married to you. So you could say, "I feel I need more attention than the attention you're giving to the You see, when you refine your statements, it's easier to deal with them. When you just throw out statements of emotions and you tag it on to things that have no life, you confuse it. So he comes to a restaurant and the waiter says, we have broccoli. He says, I hate broccoli. I want to ask you a question. What did broccoli ever do to him? Why does he hate broccoli? What he means to say is not that he hates broccoli, he does not like the taste of broccoli. Well, if you don't like the taste of broccoli, why don't you try this one? I made it with a different sauce. I made it with a different taste. So it's not, you don't hate broccoli. You don't like the taste of broccoli because when you grew up, all it was cooked. But I don't know, it's a stew, it doesn't taste like broccoli. Taste that you like it. But if you hate broccoli, what difference does it make what taste it is? I just hate it. Now you might think that all of this is really silly. So what? We use language inappropriately or imprecisely. In fact, everyone knows when someone tells you, I'll be with you in a minute, it's never a minute. It's always more than a minute. But occasionally it's important for us to reflect on this. You see, because we love God and God loves us. And is that just a figure of speech? Is it like I love ice cream and ice cream loves me back? Obviously not. Because this love is very deep. It's very genuine. It's very authentic. And most of all, it's very true. And the definition of truth is it doesn't change. It's not dependent on conditions or situations. So during these days, and these are days of exile, when we're away from our holy land of Israel, and when we are distant from feeling the presence of God, when we say in our prayers that God loves us, I think maybe we should think a little bit about that. It is real. And when we say how fortunate we are that we are loved by God, that's true as well. Let's hope and pray that very soon these words which we say will be revealed to us in its entirety. Amen.